Do we start?
Just getting on here.
You want to keep your phone on here? Okay. I'm going to hold the candle here. No, but it's a little broken. It's dangerous. I'm going to hold it.
Okay, so Shavua Tov. So nice to see everyone after a very special Shabbos that followed, like Ba'omer, especially a time to bring some joy after the difficult tragedy that happened in Israel, and even touched close to home. Two of the families are people who are originally from Montreal. So, as in the way of Shimon Bar Yochai, bringing joy, even in a hard time. Havdallah.
Oh, I'm
We'll get some background.
yeah.
El Yeshua si eftach v'lo yefchad ki yazim dezim ras yadinoi vayehi li Yeshua Ushaftem mayim besosoin mi mayinei haYeshua ladoinoi haYeshua alamcho biyichasecha selo Adinoi tzevoi simonu mizgavlonu Elohei Yaakov v'selo Adinoi tzevoi sashreyo adam boi teyach Adinoi Hoshia Hamelech Yaneinu V'Yoim Koreinu La Yehudim Haisa Yirav Simcha Visawasain Vikar Kenti Yelanu Kais Yeshuai Sesa Uvishem Adonai Ekra Sabri Maranan Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Boirei Priagafen Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Boirei Minei V'Samim Talay la 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 my la 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 my la 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 my la 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 Tal la 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 my la 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 my la 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 Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam B'Rei Mirei Yovesh Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Hamavdil ben Kodesh leChaoil ben Erlechashem ben Yisrael Amin Ben Yahoy Mashvi L'Sheidu D'Mei HaMaaseh Baruch Adonai HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. As we put out the fire, and we take from the blessing of what we did, the Havdallah, for wisdom, Parnasa, long life, Chiyas HaMeis, and Mashiach, health, all the blessings that we need for us to carry us through the week, this week coming. We'll make a bracha achrona and then we'll share a story. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Ala gefen b'priya gefen. Radum tzad alar etchem l'tever chavashut tzitzim echad l'v'sein l'chem l'biyavos beim t'va. Rachem no anolenu yisrael mechalai shleim erech vatzi yemeshgan kvedecha Mohammed b'checha v'alei chalachem. Hey shleim erech keinish meir v'mein olenu tzachos chen b'avracha v'dusha v'tara. Ki ato Adonai tev metim l'kalnei l'chol haaretz v'abrigam v'nei l'haaretz v'apri hagefen. So now we're going to share a story as we're coming to the end of Shabbos, and actually what happens through the Havdallah is we carry Shabbos into the week, and there's a fourth meal that happens on Shabbos. We know there's a meal Friday night, the meal Shabbos afternoon, early afternoon, after the Shachris, after the prayers. Some people have a meal Shabbos late afternoon. We call Sudash Lashit, the third meal. And then after Shabbos, after Havdalah, you're supposed to make Malava Malka, a meal that you're escorting the Shabbat queen. And it's a meal where you wash and different customs. We grew up, for those from Russia, used to have herring and potatoes. And that was the meal with the two candles lit. And they washed and they shared the stories that we do. That's the type of stories they shared. And it was a meal connected to Shabbos, to escort Shabbos. And by many Hasidic dynasties, Malava Malka is a very important meal where many great things happened during that meal. There's special songs that are associated with that meal. So it's not like a meal on Shabbos, but it's at least you sit down over some bread. So here we're going to talk about the story we're going to share today is how Shabbos, how the performance of Shabbos and the observance of Shabbos made a miracle happen in someone's life, going back to Poland in the 1800s. So Poland was under Russian rule. And at some point, the Polish decided they want to break away from Russia. So they planned a battle against Russia, and for a short while, they captured certain area of Russia, and specifically we're talking about the city of Kovna, that area. But not long after, the Russians recaptured the area. And there was a fellow who lived in Kovna. He was a very respected Jew because he owned the inn. Like many Jews, their livelihood was that they used to rent from a landowner an inn. And the inn in those days was like an inn that had within a little restaurant or bar, and people used to come and drink or eat. And that was their parnasa, that was their livelihood. And this fellow ran a very good inn, treated his customers very well. The Polish nobility were big customers of his. And whether they were under Russian rule or Polish rule didn't make a difference. To them, they knew they was under the Goyim, and not they weren't so nice to the Jews in general, but they continued to do and make the living in the most honest way. Now, once when the Russians were trying to, after they recaptured the area and they were hanging around, so there was a general with a battalion, and he heard that in Kovna there's an inn where they can get good wine, good food. So he sent two of his soldiers to the inn to get wine. But the problem was it was Friday night. It was Friday night. and the soldiers knock on the door of the inn, and it's closed. The lights are off. So you look around the building. The family lived on the other side of the building, and they see a light on and a door. So they knock on the door. He opens up the door. This fellow's name was Joseph. He opened up the door, and he sees two soldiers, Russian soldiers. It's never a good scene in those days when you see a soldier. So he says, "What can I do for you?" So they say, "We're here with the general, and the general wants some bottles of wine." So Yosef said, "I'm very sorry. I cannot sell you any wine. It's my Sabbath. With a beautifully set table in front of it, it's my Sabbath. We don't do any business on Shabbos. I cannot sell you any wine." The soldiers go back to the general. He's very upset. What do you mean a guy doesn't want to sell? Who does he think he is? I'm the general. I'm the one in command of the city today. He's not going to sell me wine. He sends two more soldiers. He says, "You better come back with wine." They go there, again, and knock on the door. They say, "Here's money, whatever you want. We're going to pay you. We need wine." He says, "I'm sorry. I would love to sell you wine, but I can't. Shabbos, I can't sell you wine." But he says, "You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll give you the key, give to your general the key to my stock of wine. Take whatever you want, but I cannot sell you wine." So they go back to the general and they tell him that this very interesting story. The Jew gives them the key to his cellar and he says, "Take whatever you want, but he's not going to sell wine." So the general said, "I got to meet this Jew. I never saw a person like that. Doesn't want to sell me 2 bottles of wine, 3 bottles of wine, but is ready to give me access to all of this wine." So the general goes to the house and knocks on the door. It's the third knock of the night. You can imagine how the fear that gripped the family, and now the general is there. What do you do? But Yosef kept Shabbos, beautifully set table. He wasn't going to be disturbed on Shabbos. He opens up the door and the general is there. And the general looked at him and says, "You're not going to sell me any wine? I never met someone who's not going to sell me wine." So Yosef says again, "On Shabbos, I don't conduct business. I can't do any business. I don't deal with money. But you know what? We have another thing we do on Shabbos. That's hospitality. We love to invite people into our home and sit down. So I see maybe you and your aide want to join us for our Shabbat table." And the general was so taken by this Jew that he sat down with his aide and they joined the meal. They never had such delicious gefilte fish and chicken soup and all the dips and all the other great dishes and the chicken and the kugel. A lovely meal. He was very impressed and he left them alone. Anyways, a short while passed and the Russians, now they were in control, were arresting a lot of the Polish nobility who made the coup against them in this city. And they came to arrest Yosef, the innkeeper. Why did they arrest him? And obviously, he was arrested on serious charges of trying to treason against Russia, which was punishable by probably life in Siberia. Who knows if he would survive? How would his family survive? It was very serious accusations. Why did they arrest Joseph? Because they heard that all the meetings in the Polish nobility happened in his inn. So the chances were that he must be a part of this uprising because it's all happening in his inn. And the Jew is praying to Hashem. He doesn't know what to do. He says, "How am I going to get out of this problem? How am I going to deal with this problem?" And he's crying. He's praying every day. He's crying. One day, the chief inspector of the prison comes, knocks on the door. He doesn't knock to ask him to let him in. Knocks on the door, opens up the door, and he's about to read him his Bill of Rights and what you should expect. But as he gets closer into the prison, he looks closer to the prisoner. He recognizes him. And Yosef, teary-eyed, can't see straight, blurry, but he knows, he recognizes this man. He's seen him somewhere. And then the inspector says, "Are you Joseph from the inn?" And he said, "Yeah." So then Yosef heard him and realized that that's the general who he invited for Shabbat in his house. So the general said, "What are you doing here?" So he told him that because his name, the inn, was where many of the Polish nobility gathered, but he said, "You know me, business is business. I didn't get involved in what they were doing. They just liked to come to my inn. So the general said, don't leave it up to me. I'm going to make sure that they let you free. And he went to the people in charge of the investigation. He said, you have the wrong man. This man, I know him personally. I was in his house. He can't hurt a fly. He would never do treason. He's an honest person. He didn't want to sell me. He told him the whole story. I didn't want to sell him a few bottles of wine for money, even though he offered even more money than what it was worth. And after they heard it, they said, fine, we're going to let him go. So he comes back and he says, you're a free man. Why? Because he observed Shabbos. He didn't get excited when he saw a general. He didn't get excited when he was threatened. To him, Shabbos was a day that's unbreakable, a day when you celebrate fully and completely. And because he celebrated Shabbos completely and he did not break it or get intimidated by the general, Shabbos saved him later on. It saved his life and was able to bring him back to his family and continue his living. So when we keep Shabbos, there's a saying, not even from a religious person, Achad Ha'am made a statement when he said that more than the Jews have kept Shabbos, the Shabbos has kept the Jews. This is an open miracle from Shabbos, but every one of us, when we keep Shabbos, and as we start keeping it more and more, even a little part of it is still called keeping Shabbos, it brings blessings and miracles in our life. It changes the way we look at the world, the way the world looks at us. It's the greatest gift that Hashem could have given us with Shabbos, and the greatest blessing that we can have is every week we have a Shabbos where we remove ourselves from the daily grind, the regular things going on in the streets and the daily issues, and we raise ourselves up to a new level. So may Hashem help that our Shabbos should bring all of us, this past Shabbos should bring all of us great blessing in our week and for everything we need in our lives. And with that, we say Shavua Tov. We'll finish off singing our weekly song connected with Matzai Shabbat Eliyahu Hanavi, who will usher in Mashiach's coming. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu. Eliyahu Agiladi b'meira yavayeleinu Mashiach ben David b'meira yavayeleinu Mashiach ben David Mashiach ben David. Want to wish everyone a Shavuot Tov, a great week, a blessed week. Only beautiful things. I just want to remind you, Wednesday, join us. We'll be hearing from someone in France and get the update of Jewish life in France today, especially after the whole Halimi story that's making the news all over, the travesty of justice. And it'll be very, very interesting this Wednesday, 7:30. So all the best, everyone. God bless you. We love you all. Be well. Shavuot Tov.
Thank you, Moshe. Lovely story.
Have a good week.
Be well.
Be well.
Shavua Tov.